So many people are always like, what if I fail? What if I fail? What if I fail? What if I fail? And then they never start. They never start anything. They never do anything because it's this constant what if I fail mentality. And I want to let you know, good, you're supposed to have that. We develop that fear. We develop that anxiety because we used to have to survive lions and tigers and bears. Now you need to survive your alarm clock and getting up on time. But when it comes down to that, everyone you see who's successful has also failed and has also had the same fear of failing that you have now. It's completely normal and justified. My name's Andrew Wilkes, and I've built a multi-six-figure, almost seven-figure coaching business, and I want to come on here and kind of walk you guys through exactly why failure is a good thing, not a negative thing like you probably think it is, right? So when I started my entrepreneurship route, even way before that, I was a super high-level athlete. You know, I played high-level hockey, high-level basketball, and since a young kid, MMA, wrestling, kickboxing, all those things. And I got successful at multiple different things when it comes to my athletics, but I was a failure when it came to school, right? It turns out then, okay, well, I was supposed to go to the NHL for hockey. That was my whole goal. That was my whole passion. I had people coming to watch me. I had this big plan. It was everyone knew me as this like top level hockey goalie. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be an NHL goalie one day. And then I got a call from my doctor and my knee was blown out. And I had a weird disease called Ockenschleider's where it was either I damage my growth plate and don't make it past 5'5", 5'6", or I stopped playing hockey. So I stopped playing hockey, and then, I was doing MMA on the side, I was doing wrestling on the side, and then I went into basketball. And then, I was really good at basketball, actually. I played high level, I played all over Canada, even in the U.S., and I traveled all the time for basketball. I took all these different camps. I got invited to these special point guard camps where people were like, oh, point guards who are top in their division come here and we train them. And you meet sponsors, you meet scholarships, you meet coaches, you get trained, you compete. Cool, I got brought there. And then, around grade 10 came around and I got super depressed and dropped out of high school. I used to make an excuse and say, I dropped out of high school because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I used to make an excuse to say I wanted to drop out of high school to, pursue streaming or video games or whatever the fuck, right? But in reality, I was failing everything and I had no drive for it. My ADHD was so bad I couldn't focus on anything. So I ended up quitting. I ended up dropping out of high school. And in reality, I did always want to be an entrepreneur, but I just never knew how. So I never really said that to anybody. But I used to say in my grade 10 class, in my careers class, they used to ask us what we wanted to do. And I would always say, I want to be an entrepreneur. And then they said, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know, but I want to do something big. I want to do something for myself. I want to build it myself with nobody helping me. I want to be self-made. And so when I dropped out of high school, I got odd jobs. And I honestly, dude, I fucking sucked at all of them because I had no drive for any of them. And then fast forward, I got a construction job, a sales job, and then I started working, I failed at those actually. Construction job, I quit. Sales job was going okay, but then I quit that as well, and I went in a shit ton of debt, almost 20K in debt USD in my checking account, which means any dollar I made went directly to my checking it out to pay the bank off, and I was ruined. And then I got a job at a coaching, I got a job at a gym, got a sales job there, did very well at that, but then I got into coaching, and then from coaching I built my first online business. And I failed at that for months. Had a few clients. And I started really taking it serious. Then I had a $28,000 a month. Then a 30, then a 40. And I kept the ball rolling. And then it came to a point where I was so good at doing that people were asking me how I did it. And I started helping other coaches. And now we're on track for 100K months, 200K months, and scaling that past. But the moral of the story is I failed. And now I'm on track to be a millionaire, a multimillionaire. Today's January 27th. By the end of February February, we should be at a $200,000 month. Hooray. But the thing is, we failed so many times in the process to get to where I am. And the one thing is that I always like to say is I'm extremely intelligent, but I'm stupid. And stupid people I find can be more successful because we don't think about the risk. We jump off the cliff and learn how to fly on the way down. Smart people go nowhere because they spend so much time trying to calculate the fall, trying to figure it out before they even jump. And then all of a sudden, they never made their first step. Successful people just take that fucking jump and they just go for it. And if you're feeling like a failure, or if you're scared to start because you're scared of failing, every single person feels that fear. But you need to understand that that fear should be turned into excitement. That anxiety is the same energy as excitement. It's just about where you put your energy. Are you going to be full of fear, or are you going to take that fear and that anxiety, and are you going to turn that into excitement and drive? Be productive with your life. Get off your phone. Go to the gym. Read a book. Start your day by drinking some water. Small steps like that. Journal. Get your life together. And it should never be goal-oriented. The thing that's going to hold you back, I say this all the time, the thing that's going to hold you back, the guys that I coach all the time, I have to say this repeatedly. The thing that's going to hold you back is holding your goal towards material, or holding your inputs, the things you do every day, doing them for a reason of an outcome, right? Like, I'm going to put in all this work because I want a Ferrari, or I'm going to put in all this work because I want to see this number in my account. And it's cool to manifest that, and it's really cool to have that in the back burner of your brain. But the reality is, if that's the only goal, it's very easy to give up. And you don't fail unless you give up. But if your passion is just to do the work and get better every day, get better at your business, get better at the work you're putting in, get better at being who you want to be, then the outcome comes along with that. Your business and your life follows the level you get yourself to. You don't get to a certain level and catch up with the business level. Your business doesn't get to $200,000 a month and then you catch up and become that person. You become that person and your business catches up to you. So just focus on being better. And I say this all the time, and I'll say it one more time. You don't become a failure from fails and failing. I'll say it again. You don't become a failure from failing. You become a failure when you give up. And I've made a promise to myself that I'll fail 1,000,000 times in my life and never stop, because then I can't be a failure. I was just someone who was trying to learn. And that's a winner. Best case scenario, it works out. Worst case scenario, I'm on my deathbed laughing about, well, at least I tried. And I'm not on my deathbed just going, I wish I tried that thing. I wish I went all in. I wish I actually put the effort in. I don't want to have to lie to myself on my deathbed. So put the work in and try and fail and be okay with failing. Be okay with failing. The worst thing is you start over. But you'll never be starting just as badly as you started the first time. Because every time you have to start over, you have the skills and the knowledge from last time. So when you fail, you're starting from a better starting point. You have more knowledge. You've done more. It's like if you get into a fight and lose, well, the next fight you get into, you're going to have more information and more skill and more knowledge, more ability. So it's the same thing when you fail in life and in business. You're not failing. You're taking the information and moving to the next level. So never be afraid to fail. Take that jump. Take the risk and go fucking crush it every single day. And don't be scared to lose. Be scared to not try. With that mentality, you should be going into life as if you have no other choice but to be a winner. My name is Andrew Wilkes, and I love you. God loves you. Peace. Trust in God, my friend.